their communities. Radio is better than ever in targeting an audience that listens to what you say. Learn more about this exciting radio broadcasting opportunity by calling WNZK Radio at 248 557 3500. This is WNZK, Dearborn Heights, Detroit, your ethnic superstation at 690 days, 680 nights.
أهلا الذين ينضمون للاستماع إلى راديو بلدي أول راديو عربي أمريكي ويعنى بقضايا العرب في المحور. برامجنا في راديو بلدي كل يوم جمعة من 8 وحتى 9 صباحا في بث حي ومباشر عبر WNZK Radio 690 AM. صباح الخير بلدي، صباح الخير لكل مستمعينا.
Welcome to Radio Baladi, the first Arab, Middle Eastern, and American simulcast radio show. Radio Baladi is broadcast every Friday morning on WNZK 690 AM from 8 until 9 Eastern Time on Good Morning Michigan. Our call-in number 248-557-3300. And now, stay tuned for the best radio talk show on Arab and American issues.
And good morning, everybody. It's Friday, July 12th, 2024, and I'm Ray Hanania. And this is the fourth Friday of the month here at Radio Baladi and WNZK AM 690 radio, broadcasting out of Dearborn to the greater Detroit region and Michigan, which Michigan is going to be the focus of the election if you haven't figured that out yet. It's one of the big swing states, and the Arab American and Muslim vote and Middle Eastern vote too are abandoning Biden. There's the movement Abandon Biden. They've done such a great job of raising the issues, and Biden's people basically ignored them. Trump's people have done an okay job of trying to address them, but it's hasn't. I don't think it's been very effective. But the bottom line is Biden's not going to get their votes. There are a lot of good people that I've talked to, like Hassan Abdul Salam at Abandon Biden. Dr. Abdul Salam has given me a lot of great information on the community. And, we're going to talk about all that, the election, who you're going to vote for. Did President Biden change his mind? I was at the debate that took place last month in Atlanta. What a disaster that was. So we're going to talk about that. Our number is 248-557-3300, 248-557-3300. 248-557-3300. I got that all. I had a Bidenitis there for a moment, huh? Is that a new term, Bidenitis? When something happens and it doesn't work right? I don't know. He's having a problem getting through it. Of course, I'm not president of the United States. I'm just hosting a radio show, and I hope you call at 248-557-3300. We broadcast live on WNZK AM 690 radio, and we're also streaming live on the U.S. Arab Radio Network on Facebook at facebook.com/US Arab Radio. You can check it out right now. And I write columns for a bunch of newspapers, community newspapers in Chicago, the Regional, the Southwest News Herald, the Des Plaines Valley News, the Reporter, the News Hound, for a bunch of them on mainstream American politics. I also write a syndicated column that you can subscribe to 4 or 5 times a week. I publish opinions. A lot of them have to do with politics. Some of them have to do with humor. Some of it has to do with the Middle East, and that's at Hanania.com. You can go to rayhanania.com or Hanania.com, either one, and check out those columns and subscribe. It's free. If you want to donate and pay to help, you're, of course, welcome to do that. A lot of people do that because they believe in having an independent voice like mine, which is pro-peace in the Middle East and fairness in American politics. I'm really upset with the news media. I think they're very biased, the way they report stuff. So it's just horrible, the way they cover everything. because they're pushing an agenda. And of course, I also write about Middle East topics directly for the newspaper Arab News, which is the leading English language newspaper in the Gulf, arabnews.com. So you go to hanania.com, you can see everything that I do and see all those links and read my columns and give me feedback, comment. There's all these big debates and discussions that take place after some of these columns. Depending on, what they are, the AbandonBiden movement, President Biden's gaffs, he just made so many mistakes. And it's not just, about picking on Biden. I don't think we're picking on Biden. I think the issue is he's just not able to be tough. And I think even during his first term in office, he was very weak. During these first 4 years, I think as a result of his weak leadership, Biden was put in there kind of like a favor to the Obamas and the Clintons. He's part of their team, and they wanted to help him out. And they hate Trump, because Trump beat the heck out of Hillary Clinton, who was as bad for the Arabs as Biden has been. She probably was worse. Hillary Clinton was terrible. And it was so nice to see her lose. But Trump beating her, he wasn't that great as a president. He did some goofy things. He couldn't overcome his pettiness. That's Trump's problem. But what was interesting about the debate? The debate changed things. What happened? And you saw a different Trump there. And I think that you saw a different Trump because it was so obvious that CNN, which hosted the debate, which isn't part of the National Debate Commission, which usually more fairly conducts the debates after the conventions in the fall, before the election. Rather than do that, I think Biden's people thought, let's conspire with CNN. Let's organize a debate. I think they're going to do it with ABC too. At least they're going to try. And they want to organize their own debate so that Biden can look better, get favorable treatment. They put all those restrictions on the debate. As a journalist, there were 800 journalists covering the debate. I was there in Atlanta. We were a mile away from where they had Biden and Trump in a room with the two journalists from CNN. Dana Bash was one of them, I think, and where they got questions. And they also, so there was no audience to see them or react. And I think the theory was that if Biden had an audience fighting and arguing and debating with Trump, that audience would distract Biden and confuse him because he's already confused a lot of times. And, like I said, I feel terrible. He's an old guy, he's 81 or whatever. It's like at some point, everybody has to stand down and recognize that there are bigger issues. I mean, for you and me, our issues are family, but for Biden, it's the issue of the United States. So they eliminated the audience because they thought that would help Biden. And then they implemented this automatic mic shutoff system so that Trump wouldn't interfere with Biden's remarks, because Trump has a habit of just, interrupting and interfering. And they thought that would confuse Biden. So they implemented that microphone shutoff system so that Trump couldn't interfere. Believe me, it was all about Trump. And they thought if they could eliminate the audience, that would disrupt Biden and distract him. If they could control the microphones and prevent Trump from interrupting Biden, Biden would do great. The problem is that when they did all that, they made Trump look good. He couldn't do anything except, answer the questions, and then the mic would shut off. And then the spotlight was on Biden. And for the first time, we got to see Biden actually talk instead of engaging in a back and forth with Trump. And he didn't sound very good. He looked like a deer in headlights. He was horrible, and he lost his place. And he, even if you listened to him last night, he said, well, he traveled 15 different time zones in the week before that debate. That's not true. He was at Camp David, I think, for like 10 days before the debate, preparing. In fact, it was 12 days before the debate. He returned from Europe. He was in Europe, but that he returned 12 days before the debate on June 27th. And he attended a fundraiser in Los Angeles. He went to the White House on June 16th, and then he went to Camp David on June 20th for intense debate preparations. He had 6-7 days, a week of preparations, and it didn't do him any good. That's the truth. It wasn't that, poor Joe was really working really hard, and, he traveled through 15 time zones a week. And he was, sick and everything. No, that was Joe Biden. And CNN, trying to help Joe Biden, ended up exposing Joe Biden's flaws. Those are that's the reality of what happened with the debate. CNN and the media are so biased. They want to make Trump look good. They want to make Biden look good. And there's a gaffe on my part, right? Bidenitis. But I will tell you, though, I'm not the president of the United States. I'm in an open discussion, shooting from the hip here. I'm not reading a script. I don't have a policy that I have to explain. I'm just talking with anybody that wants to call. The number here is 248-557-3300. 248-557-3300. If you want to talk and discuss and express your opinion, the lines are open for you to call. And we can talk about who you're going to vote for. Did Biden change your mind last night at that NATO summit, even though he referred to at the press conference? And did you notice that the press conference was kind of choreographed? They gave him a list of reporters to call on. I think it was like 17 or something. He had a list, which means that it wasn't going to be distracting, that they think the confusion of the reporters saying, "Hey, Mr. President," everybody fighting for attention, that would be distracting to him. So they gave him a list and they told the reporters. And I think, I don't know if this is true, but I suspect that, and because the Democrats often do this, they choreographed everything. They talked to some of the reporters. They wanted to know probably what they were going to ask about, and they made sure that Biden was prepared for it. So there's no way that wasn't done. It's just not possible. And he still did terrible, referring to his vice president, Kamala Harris, as Donald Trump. Oops. You're the president of the United States. It is a big responsibility. People depend on you. This isn't like a game. This isn't a radio show, where you get up and you can just, engage with people and you can make some mistakes and then you correct it. Lives aren't at stake, around the world. Our prestige isn't at stake. America today looks weak. That's why Russia invaded Ukraine more than 2 years ago. Remember Russia? They just pounced on Ukraine because I think they realized that no one was going to stop them. And we've been in a war now for 2.5 years, I think. It's just horrible. And Putin's getting beat. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying. Putin is a terrorist. He's a war criminal, much like Benjamin Netanyahu, the prime minister of Israel, is a war criminal. Hamas launched that attack October 7th because the United States was weak and wasn't doing anything. And they engaged in terrorism. Hamas is a terrorist organization. They have no right to represent the Palestinian people. And Palestinians, I know and I'm Palestinian, we're all emotional. We think, poor Hamas. No, hell with Hamas. Get rid of Hamas. Hamas has been the cancer in the Palestinian community since 1989 when it was founded. And by the way, Hamas was launched in 1989 during the First Intifada. But the fact was that it was Israel that set up the base for Hamas in Gaza. Israel under Sharon and Yitzhak Shamir, two terrorists, by the way, they were afraid of Yasser Arafat and the PLO. And they thought, well, let's help empower the Islamic movement in Gaza to undermine the secular movement of Yasser Arafat. So they gave Sheikh Yassin, the Islamic leader in Gaza back in the late 70s, everything he needed, the funding, the organization, the support, the freedom to do whatever he wanted. He built a huge Islamic network in Gaza. And in 1989, when Palestinians stood up and rose against the brutality of the Israeli government and the killings by Israel. Israel has been killing Palestinians for years. It didn't just start on this conflict didn't start on October 7th when Hamas attacked Israel. It's been going on for years, and the Israelis routinely and wantonly kill Palestinians for no reasons, except that they want to get rid of them. They engaged in an intifada, and that's when the PLO stepped in and reached out to Yitzhak Rabin and offered a peace accord. And it was a disciple, after they made peace and everything looked like it was going to go, it was a disciple of Benjamin Netanyahu who assassinated Yitzhak Rabin and killed him to prevent the peace process. That's Netanyahu's legacy. That's the real story of the Middle East. That's the explosive tinder that exists that weak President Biden can't control. I'm Ray Hanania. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, I'd love to take your calls. I'd love to hear what you have to say at 248-557-3300. 248-557-3300 is the number here at WNZK AM 690 Radio. I'm Ray Hanania. We're going to take a break and we'll be right back right after these messages.
ArabNews.com, bringing you breaking news from across the Middle East and the latest on Arabs in America. Get inside the latest headlines with expert analysis and insights at ArabNews.com. Join over 5 million Facebook fans and over 10 million monthly readers. ArabNews.com, news that matters to you.
Hey, Michigan drivers. Are you sending or answering group chats behind the wheel? Checking emails at the light? Calling family or friends on the commute? Michigan's hands-free law makes it illegal to manually use electronic devices while behind the wheel of a vehicle. Breaking the law could mean fines or even community service. Go hands-free, just drive. It's the law. Learn more at michigan.gov/distracted driving. A message from the Michigan Office of Highway Safety Planning.
Get ready for an amazing experience at Ishtar Restaurant on 15 Mile Road in Sterling Heights. Enjoy excellent hospitality from owners Ali Al-Baghdadi and Fatty Bottom, serving the best in Mediterranean food. Try Chef Ali Al-Baghdadi's famous shawarma, the best Iraqi grills and food, and the best Arabic and international dishes. Dine in our authentic atmosphere or take out. Call 586-698-2585 or check us out on Facebook. Ishtar Restaurant practices all CDC guidelines and is open every day, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Have an amazing experience today at Ishtar Restaurant, 3625 15 Mile Road, Sterling Heights. Life for Relief and Development has now been rated as one of the best charities for humanitarian aid. Life's humanitarian projects span the globe, and Life is celebrating its 30th anniversary of providing essential life-saving aid to people and communities in 36 countries, regardless of race, color, religion, or cultural background. Where there is life, there is hope. And when disaster occurs here or around the world, including being one of the first responders to the Turkey-Syria earthquake crisis, Life for Relief and Development rushes in to provide food, medical aid, and shelter to those in need. We are looking to help the earthquake victims, and we take 0% overhead on emergency donations. So please help improve these efforts. Learn more about our involvement to help the helpless and bring hope where it's needed most. And make your tax-deductible donation to Life for Relief and Development now at lifeusa.org or call 248-424-7493. That's 248-424-7493.
And welcome back to Radio Baladi. I'm Ray Hanania. My website is hanania.com, H-A-N-A-N-I-A. And to go through life spelling my name for everybody because, you know, Arab names in the United States are not easy to spell. And a lot of people just change them. Mohammed is Mike, and Fareed is Fred, and Assad is Ass. So, you know, we go through a challenge there. Our number is 248-557-3300. I'll try not to. I'm old. I'm up there. I'm a senior. I'm an elderly person, but I'm not president of the United States. So if I make a gaffe, it doesn't result in 1,000 people getting killed or a country being invaded. If I'm a weak radio talk show host, Russia doesn't invade Ukraine because they're not worried about me, the way they're not worried about Biden. I'm not Trump, who is so petty. Yeah, I can't get past it. I will say that he kind of restrained, he was forced to be restrained by CNN, by the media attempt to make Biden look good at the debate and to help him, which backfired on CNN. And all those things that they tried to impose, the restrictions, all that did was put the focus on Biden and emphasize the fact that he was just too old and he had cognitive issues. I guess even like when he referred to and introduced, he was at NATO, he introduced Zelensky as President Putin. And then during his press conference, he referred to Vice President Kamala Harris as Vice President Trump. So, it's like, okay, some people can write it off, say, oh, those are just mistakes, doesn't mean anything. But the guy's the president. And what it tells me is that President Biden isn't really in charge. What it tells me is there are people behind him that are pretty much doing everything and running everything. So when we see Biden up there explaining stuff, that's not really the theory and the basis for the policies. It's not coming from him. There are people around him, people from the Clinton administration, the Obama administration. They're there. They're doing everything they can because, let's face it, a lot of politicians, for them, all they care about are their jobs. They don't care about you. They hope they help you once they take care of themselves, once they get elected, once they get all the money, once they get jobs for their relatives, once they get all their friends contracts who contribute to them, their cronies, they do take care of all that. Then they take care of you, the voters and the taxpayers. And to be honest with you, nobody's taking care of the taxpayers at all. One of Biden's big problems is, in addition to his cognitive challenges, he keeps referring to the economy, how great it is. I don't know, is the economy great by you? Are you guys doing great? 248-557-3300. He keeps saying about how it's so strong and there are more jobs. I don't know. I go to the grocery store. Everything costs twice as much, and twice as much in recent months, not years. Twice as much. And wow, I was there like a few months ago, and the prices are this unbelievable. Getting jobs, companies are stressed. There's a lot of money that's being spent the wrong way, bad policies. That's going to migrants, a lot of migrants, illegal aliens. That's not being anti-immigrant, by the way. I'm not anti-immigrant. My parents were immigrants, but my parents were legal immigrants. My mom, my dad came here in the 1920s. He went through the process of naturalization, became a citizen. And then when the time came, he served during the war, during World War II with the OSS. Right after Pearl Harbor, he and his brother Moses enlisted, and they fought to defend their new country that they had come to, that they immigrated to legally. Today, we don't see that. My mother was a legal immigrant, married my dad, learned about the Constitution, learned how to speak English. America, the language is English, folks. There's nothing wrong with having another language. It's great, but you're in this country, learn English, make it a priority. Now, whether you can do it or not is besides the point. Maybe you're not good at English. That's okay. Nobody's going to bully you or pick on you for that. But this idea that you don't have to learn English and that America has to speak your language, we need signs in your language to tell you how to drive. Unbelievable. Now you don't even need a license. You don't have to be a citizen to get a citizen to be a driver, to get a driver's license. In Illinois, they're giving licenses to illegal immigrants because here's the political theory behind migrants and illegal immigrants. The Democrats favor it, the conservatives and Republicans don't. And the reason the Democrats favor it is because they believe illegal immigrants could and will vote for Democrats. So, that they're more liberal because you need liberal policies to ease the restrictions to become a citizen of the United States. That's what they believe. And so they think, oh, let's give illegal immigrants all kinds of rights and money. They spend so much money on migrants, and yet the homeless people in this country, a lot of them are African American. A lot of them are Hispanic. They're not so much Arab homeless people, because, you know, Arabs and people from the Middle East, our culture is built on protecting our own people. We take care of ourselves. So we're a little bit different. So we help, we embrace our family members. If someone's homeless, we bring them in, we help them. That's really behind the theory of the Islamic theory of, you know, Muslims are allowed to marry 4 wives. And that's not because they're going to enjoy a life with 4 wives. It's because if their brother has a wife and the brother is killed, you know, there's a stigma about being a widow. So the brother has the right to marry the widow, to take care of her, to help her. That's just the way it is. I'm not saying it's right, you know, that we think that women are weak or not weak or whatever. I don't think that's the issue. The issue is there's a stigma against women that are divorced or they're widowed, and the Islamic religion allows men to do that 4 times, to take care of them. That's the purpose of it. And that's twisted, of course, in this country. So if you want to call 248-557-3300, 248-557-3300. I know you're up. I know you were breathless watching Biden's press conference yesterday or listening to it on the radio. Did he convince you that everything is okay? Are you fine with it? You know, Michigan, you guys need to engage, because Michigan is going to be the deciding factor. And I think it's going to be a number of swing states, not just Michigan, but Michigan is the crown jewel of swing states. And the AbandonBiden movement, which is reflecting the anger of the Arab and Muslim community in Michigan, which is a large vote. They're upset with the Democrats for the way they've been treated. They're upset with Biden, who panders to Israel. I mean, let's face it, Biden said he was a Zionist. He always said it. And, you know, like if you criticize Zionism, they say, oh, you're anti-Semitic. Zionism is like a political movement. It's a political party. It's a political party that supports the creation of a Jewish state. So that's how the religion gets in there. But there are a lot of Jews that don't support Zionism. And it's a political party. And I always felt that you can criticize political parties. I certainly can criticize the Democrats. I can criticize the Republicans. But for some reason, if you criticize Zionism, they're going to say, oh, you're anti-Semitic, weaponizing anti-Semitism to silence the voices. That's really the way this country is. This country is built on hypocrisies. Whoever's the biggest hypocrite probably ends up in the White House as a result of an election. The more hypocritical you are, the more you satisfy the people with the money, the more you're going to have influence in this country and win votes. That's changing. And Michigan is going to change that. Biden barely won Michigan over Trump. And there are more than enough votes to overcome that small margin between Trump and Biden. And Arabs are upset, and rightly so, because Biden has done nothing. He could have stopped that war in Gaza by putting his foot down on Netanyahu, who's been indicted by the International Criminal Court. And there's a warrant for him and many other people, his military people. They've been killing civilians in Gaza. They're murdering civilians. And what they say is, well, if a civilian is killed, it's because of Hamas. It's Hamas's fault. And they've been living in Gaza in an open-air prison since 1967, oppressed by the Israeli military, and they've done everything they can to survive Israel's brutality and murder and killing. And but when you listen to the mainstream media here in the United States, because, you know, Arabs, it's not part of our culture, communications. We just say, hey, just tell somebody the truth. The truth will prevail. No, that may prevail in the Middle East. It may prevail among Arabs who accept that premise, but it doesn't prevail in the United States, where spin is the process of taking truth. And if you don't like that truth, you just spin it and change it and make it different. 248-557-3300, 3300 if you want to join us. We're going to take another break right now. And when we come back, we'll keep talking. Listen, I've been a journalist since 1976. I got into journalism because I was upset by the way the media was covering the Middle East conflict when I was in the military during the Vietnam War, listening to the 1973 bias. And it woke me up and it said, you know what? It convinced me, instead of being a doctor and going into medicine like a lot of my relatives and cousins, I went into journalism, which of course was a disgrace to the family, because at that time in the 70s, journalists in the Middle East were all government controlled. There was no free journalism. So, but I got into journalism. That's how I did it, because I realized that communications is the power. It's the foundation of power in America. And if you understand communications, if you understand messaging, if you understand how to put a press release together, you have power. There are a lot of organizations that we have in the Arab American community. They just don't know how to put a press release. They don't know how to communicate. They don't know how to present themselves. And that's what I saw in 1973 that convinced me. I had been at Northern Illinois University for 2 years, went into the military for a couple of years. The Vietnam War ended. Then they said, okay, you can leave early from the Air Force. So I left early. I went back into school. And when I went back to school at the University of Illinois at Circle campus in Chicago, there were a lot of Arabs there. And I realized that, you know what, instead of being a doctor, I'm going to do my best to help the Arab community communicate and present themselves and demand that our society treat us fairly, Christian or Muslim, didn't matter. And even it didn't matter if you were Arab or non-Arab, because, you know, most Americans are, and I say this in a lightly, they're ignorant, not stupid. They're just unknowing about the facts of the Middle East. They're so easily manipulated by the media that they believe everything. And that's the problem. So I got into the communications because I wanted to change that. And sometimes I think about it and said, you know what, I should have been a doctor. Although honestly, I can't stand the sight of blood. So I don't know how my cousins, the surgeons, the rhinoplasts, nose jobs, heart surgeons, all of them, they do a great job. All right, I'm Ray Hanania. Our number again is 248-557-3300. It's the bottom of the hour, 248-557-3300. We're going to take a break, our second break. And when we come back, we'll keep talking about this issue of Biden. Should Joe Biden be, are you giving him another chance? Did he win you over? Did he convince you that, that debate was just an accident? Or he stumbled more? And does that bother you? Are you concerned about him still? So give us a buzz, 248-557-3300. We are on Facebook at U.S. Arab Radio Network. I'm Ray Hanania. We will be right back right after these messages.
ArabNews.com, bringing you breaking news from across the Middle East and the latest on Arabs in America. Get inside the latest headlines with expert analysis and insights at ArabNews.com. Join over 5 million Facebook fans and over 10 million monthly readers. ArabNews.com, news that matters to you.
In a perfect world, everyone would be a perfect driver.
Hands at 9 and 3, everyone.
9 and 3.
Everyone would follow all the rules.
Please, go ahead and merge. I'll make room.
Thank you, fellow driver.
And nothing unexpected would ever happen. Even the squirrels would know the right time to safely cross the road. In this perfect world, you wouldn't have to wear a seatbelt. But in case you hadn't noticed, we don't live in a perfect world. About 1,000 people in Michigan die each year in vehicle crashes, and thousands more are injured. Wearing your seatbelt reduces your risk of death in a crash by 45% in a car and by 60% in a pickup truck. So until we find a perfect world to drive in, make our imperfect world safer by buckling up. A message from the Michigan Office of Highway Safety Planning.
With more than 30,000 successful in vitro fertilizations, IVF Michigan is now ranked as one of America's best fertility clinics according to Newsweek magazine. IVF Michigan fertility centers are the recognized leaders in high-quality fertility care. With locations in Bloomfield Hills and 9 other cities in Michigan and Ohio, IVF has experts in all aspects of the field. A founding member, American board-certified Dr. Nicholas Shama, is one of the leading reproductive endocrinologists in Michigan and Ohio. He has performed over 20,000 successful IVF cases, and it's helped thousands of couples fulfill their dreams of parenthood. When it's time to get personalized care from Dr. Nicholas Shama at one of America's best fertility clinics, call IVF Michigan Fertility Centers in Michigan and Ohio toll-free at 855-952-9600. 855-952-9600.
Ziyad brand. Quality products from our family to yours. Ziyad Brothers Importing offers the finest quality products, including brands like Sultan, Kraft, Nestle, Hook, Rico Picon, Donna, and many more. Ask your retailer to carry these fine products because you deserve the very best. For more information, visit our website at www.ziyad.com. That's www.ziyad.com. Ziyad, quality products from our family to yours.
And welcome back to Radio Baladi. I am Ray Hanania. Our number is 248-557-3300. Give us a buzz. I'd love to hear what you think about President Biden's efforts to kind of improve the really poor showing that really has distracted everybody in this presidential election away from real issues. When he fumbled so many times during the unofficial media-run debate, not the Presidential Commission on Debate, the U.S. Commission on Debates, presidential debates, which we normally have, which are more independent. The debate that we saw in June was a debate orchestrated by the news media to help Biden. That was the purpose, to help Joe Biden. And it backfired so badly that instead of talking about issues now, we're talking about should Biden even stay in the race. Personally, I don't think he did a very good job of convincing me that he has it together. And again, I know he's elderly. I'm elderly, okay, but I don't know if I could be president of the United States. You want to be president of the United States, you got to go toe-to-toe with Putin, not mistake him for Zelensky, not mistake people for Donald Trump, who you hate. You got to be on top of it. You got to be tough. You got to be strong. And Biden is the opposite of tough and strong. He's not presenting himself strong. And when he doesn't present himself strong and tough, he's not presenting America strong and tough. And people look at us and think we're weak. And we have weak leadership, so we must be weak because we pick these leaders, and we picked Joe Biden. He was kind of shoved on us following a media campaign that viciously attacked Donald Trump. And I'm not a big Trump, you're defending Trump. No, I'm not defending Trump. What it really bothers me is the hypocrisy of the mainstream news media. That's what I dislike. Treat Trump fairly. Treat Biden fairly. Treat Trump the way you treat Biden. Orchestrate a debate to help Trump the way you orchestrated the debate to help Biden, and it backfired. And now look at us. We're not talking about the economy. We're not talking about jobs. We're not talking about the rising crime. We're not talking about the billions that are being spent on migrants and illegal aliens and a broken immigration system. Because every time a migrant sneaks into the country, they're taking money away from you, tax dollars that could help you protect your family, make them safe. That's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is our president cognitive? Can he engage in an international arena as the champion of the United States, our leader, fearless leader? Reminds me of Rocky and Bullwinkle and Boris and Natasha. Okay, fearless leader. But today, it's not a comic strip. It's not a cartoon. The United States is in trouble. Our economy sucks. It's terrible. If you're making a lot of money, you don't mind paying the extra fees. You don't mind paying the double costs, the extra taxes. Our taxes are going up. You don't mind paying the taxes if you're wealthy. But for the majority of people, they're not wealthy. And every time I hear Biden say, oh, the economy is better than it's ever been. No, it's not better than it's ever been. It's worse. It's worse because real people are hurting. We're giving away money to help migrants and immigrants and illegal aliens to give them a chance. And God bless them. I'm in favor of immigration. My parents were immigrants. But like I said, they came here legally. They didn't sneak into the country. Do it the legal way. Why do you sneak in? Because there's a reason you're not being let in. So if someone has a reason to not be let in, there must be a problem there. So a lot of these illegal aliens that come into the country, they're bringing with them problems that they can't address in their corrupt countries where they come from. And these corrupt countries are willing to push out the worst of their society and send them to the United States. And we're not doing anything about that. We're spending money like crazy. We got almost, a third of our homeless people are veterans, maybe a quarter of them. That's a lot. They're veterans. They're American veterans who put their lives on the line to defend this country, and we push them aside. It's almost like if you wanted attention, you should become a migrant or an illegal alien. You're going to get more from this government than you will if you were an American citizen who needs help, whose neighborhood is besieged by increasing crime, like in Chicago. Oh my gosh. 19 people killed over the 4th of July weekend by gun violence alone, and more than 117 people seriously injured in Chicago. And that's only what's reported. That's the tip of the iceberg. It's horrible in Chicago, and it's spreading through the Chicagoland area, the crime. It's not, the police are being undermined. These are the issues we should be talking about. Strengthening the police, strengthening the fight against crime, strengthening our economy, creating real jobs, not manipulating the numbers. So they went down a million, and when they go up 20,000, they go, look, we got 20,000 new jobs under my administration. Well, what about the 980,000 that we lost? So, it's a relative thing that they play on you. And I know you're not stupid, right? Are you? Are you just sitting at home going, it doesn't matter. I don't care. If eggs cost $50 a dozen, what am I going to do? It's just the way it is, right? $5 an egg, you're willing to pay for it. If gasoline goes up to $5, $6 a gallon, hey, I'm an idiot. Why don't I just pay it? Why should I be engaged in the discussion to try and make our government more responsible? Why should I speak out? Why don't I just take the beating in the economy, the loss of jobs, the fear of crime in the neighborhood, the fact that education for our kids it's okay, it's acceptable. Is that okay to you, that it's just acceptable that your kids are getting an acceptable education? Is it okay to you that our elected officials spend so much money on themselves? They go in, with modest incomes and modest investments, and they come out multimillionaires after 2 years in Congress, after, leading the country. It's just, I don't know. If you don't care, I guess I don't care, right? So who cares whether the president can speak or put two sentences together that make sense? I care. I care because I've worked really hard. I pay all my taxes. I expect government to return those taxes to me in services. And as an Arab American, I expect them to give me tax money to promote my culture the way they do other ethnic groups and promote their cultures. They do that all the time for everybody else. In Illinois, they hate Arabs. Governor, and listen, Governor J.B. Pritzker, he's the worst governor in Illinois. This guy's he can buy any elected office that he wants, and he's just waiting for Trump to Biden to step down and not run, so he can throw his name into the mix. And he wants to be president. But I'm going to tell you what. Here's what's going to happen. Biden is going to stay in the race, and if I were Trump, I would help him stay in the race. If I were Trump, I'd be putting out statements criticizing Democrats who criticize Biden, saying that it's elderly abuse. And I'd be urging everybody to support Biden to keep him in the race, because Trump is going to beat Biden. And, our system is screwed up. Third-party candidates like Jill Stein, who was on our show last month, on Radio Baladi. She's a very smart person, Dr. Jill Stein, very fair. She's Jewish, and she supports human rights for everybody. She supports Palestinians. She supports Israelis. She's against violence. She's a great voice. But the Democrats are doing everything they can to shut her down, to keep her off the ballot, because they're worried about Biden. And they're doing everything they can to keep Robert F. Kennedy Jr. off the ballot, but he's going to be on the ballot. But he's learned to pander to the powers that be, the bad powers that be, so he can get in there. And maybe he'll become a good person if he's elected. I really liked him in the beginning, but now I'm just not sure whether Robert F. Kennedy is a good person or not. He's being too coy. He doesn't want to do interviews to answer questions about his policies, and he's a little wacky. But the only good thing that would come out of a Robert F. Kennedy Jr. presidency would be the truth about who assassinated John F. Kennedy. I'm Ray Hanania. We're down to our last 15 minutes. We're going to take our final break. If you really like the call, we'd love to. I don't know, did Biden change your mind last night? Or maybe your mind was never changed. You were always going to support Biden. Or maybe you were going to support Biden. But did it have an impact on your view of presidential politics? Do you feel like the country's better? Is the country worse? 248-557-3300. I'm Ray Hanania. We're going to take a final break, and we'll be right back right after these messages.
ArabNews.com, bringing you breaking news from across the Middle East and the latest on Arabs in America. Get inside the latest headlines with expert analysis and insights at ArabNews.com. Join over 5 million Facebook fans and over 10 million monthly readers. ArabNews.com, news that matters to you. At Top Rehab Physical Therapy Clinic in Dearborn, we provide effective physical therapy sessions in order to limit pain and discomfort. Top Rehab provides physical therapy care for any diagnosis prescribed by a physician, and we regularly see and treat conditions such as stroke, TMJ, fibromyalgia, sciatica, joint pain, and more. We use a variety of pain management methods, including modalities, soft tissue mobilization, and therapeutic exercise. If you're in need of physical rehabilitation or physical therapy, get the highest quality health care at Top Rehab. Most insurance is accepted, and we're open Monday, Wednesday, and Friday 8 to 6, Tuesday and Thursday 8 to 5, and Saturday 10 till 2. Call for an appointment today at 313-846-0555. That's 313-846-0555. Choose Top Rehab Physical Therapy Clinic on Michigan Avenue in Dearborn. Life's too short to be in pain.
What's my ETA?
Your estimated time of arrival is 9:17.
I'm late. I'll have to punch it.
Speeding will save you just 1 minute and 36 seconds. It will also increase your risk of a crash, as well as the odds that you will be stopped and issued an expensive speeding ticket.
Yeah, but...
In 1 year, there were 22,000 speeding-related crashes in Michigan, resulting in 200 deaths.
If I had someone in the car with me, I'd drive slower. But it's just me.
This is not a logical response. Though you have no passenger, surrounding cars contain 27 others, including 5 children and 1 Labrador Retriever.
How do you know all this stuff?
I know everything, Kevin.
Your risk of a crash increases with every mile you drive over the speed limit. So slow down. Speed enforcement is happening now. A message from the Michigan Office of Highway Safety Planning.
Are you going to start a restaurant or grocery store soon? Do you need floor plans and designs? Call Najee Abood at 734-744-9796. Do you want to buy kitchen and restaurant equipment at discount prices? Call Najee Abood now, 734-744-9796. New Concept Products and Design, the trademark of kitchen equipment. 5% discount on all purchases of $75,000 or more. New Concept Products and Design, new location, 31185 Schoolcraft in Livonia. Learn more at www.newconceptproducts.com. Call Najee Abood, 734-744-9796.
And welcome back to Radio Baladi. I'm Ray Hanania. My website again is hanania.com, HANANIA.com. And you can read all my columns. I won a bunch of awards, Lister Awards and stuff like that, which is cool. The Sigma Delta Chi Award for writing. I got into journalism in the 70s. I really enjoyed it. And I covered politics for like 40 years. So a lot of my columns deal with politics. Domestic politics here in the U.S. and international politics, particularly with interest in the Middle East, because we don't really get the truth about the Middle East from our media here in this country. The media is biased. The media is partisan. Most of the media is controlled by a few corporations now. And let's be honest, they're free. The bias isn't like across the board. What happens is a media organization can write about and cover anything that doesn't contradict the views of its owners, the corporations. But when it comes to the issues that are most important to the corporations, and a lot of them have to do with the Middle East for investments and politics, they are biased. So it's a narrow bias. They are biased about certain things that impact their bosses and that tell them what to do and that pay them. So the media is not the same today as when I got into journalism back in the aftermath of the Watergate scandal with former President Richard M. Nixon. That kind of inspired me to not pursue journalism. The bias against Arabs and Muslims and people who look Arabs and Muslims. I know Chaldeans, big community. I love Chaldeans, and I get a lot of support from Chaldeans. Being Christian Palestinian myself, I think the Chaldeans are an abused community and ignored sometimes because they're wrapped up and stereotyped as being Arab when they're not Arab. Chaldeans are not Arab. They're Middle Eastern. They're Chaldean, and they should be respected as being Chaldean in the Middle East. But people in the Middle East, in this country, they can't tell. Most typical Americans can't tell the difference between a Palestinian or a Pakistani, or a Chaldean Christian, or a Muslim, or an Arab Muslim. They can't tell the difference, so they stereotype us all. You put a Chaldean and an Arab together, and the average American is going to say, "Oh yeah, there are two of those hijabis, or those two, jihadis, or those two, very negative." They'll come up with some negative term for us. 248-557-3300. Are you going to vote for Biden? I don't know. It's a tough election. Biden isn't doing a good job. He's a nice guy, grandfather. You never get upset with grandpa, right? Grandpa, CD, says crazy stuff. You kind of tolerate it. You put up with it. But he's not president. CD isn't president of the United States, okay? And we need somebody tough. I'm not sure Trump is the right guy, although in the debate, he showed us he can restrain himself. That first term when he was president was just driven by his pettiness. He couldn't stop himself, from responding to pettiness like crazy. Rosie O'Donnell says something about him on The View, which is a really racist program on television, to be honest with you. It's subtle racism, the way they discriminate against people. It's very subtle. It's not obvious. But she gets on The View. Remember that when he was president just before he was president, and she starts attacking him, calling him names, and then he attacks her. And then the media pounces on him for criticizing Rosie O'Donnell, who is really responsible for the whole fight. So they stick up for themselves, the media. They protect themselves. Well, the Democratic media protects themselves. The Republican media protects themselves. And I'm not sure we even have a media anymore. Now it's all just opinion driven. There's no news. It's opinion driven news. I'm not sure if there is an objective news source. I write my opinions, but I tell you they're my opinions. I don't tell you they're news. The news media writes their opinions and they tell you it's news. That's what's wrong. That's the conflict in journalism. That's the hypocrisy that I'm talking about. That's what needs to change in this country. And for all the problems that this country has, I put the blame at the top of the heap of causing the problems, the news media, the corruption of the news media, the failure to be objective, the failure to be fair, the failure to stand up to bullies in the media who treat Muslims in a different way. If you protest, they will strip you of your rights because you're Muslim. If you were Christian or Jewish and you protested, they would not strip you of your rights. They might if you were Christian or Jewish and you were protesting in support of Palestinian rights. Oh yeah, they're going to strip you of your rights. But the racism in this country is just horrible. And it's one reason why I do the show with Layla Al-Husseini on here at WNZK, because we need to push back. We need to show Americans what our view is. We need to convey that. We need to engage. And the only way to engage, because the media is excluding Arabs. The only time when I was growing up, the only time they ever mentioned an Arab was when an Arab committed a crime. And usually the news, when they would talk about Arabs, it was like watching, an American crime program. We were never promoted for all the great things that we've done, the contributions, all the Arab Americans who served in the military in this country during World War II. 15,000 Arab Americans and Muslims fought in the military to defend this country and free the Jews from German Nazi occupation in the Holocaust. And yet today there's a Holocaust in Gaza that nobody talks about. And if you say the phrase from the river to the sea, people suddenly say, oh, you're an anti-Semite or you're a racist. You could be banned on social media. You could be banned on Twitter. You can't even talk about anything because they hate us Arabs. And they hate us Arabs because it's easy to hate us, because we made it easy to hate us by not standing up together as a community. And we fight with each other. We're very emotional. We say things. We're misunderstood. We embrace our culture far greater than we embrace our American adopted American culture. We need to do a better job. We need to understand the power of media. And we don't do that. Anyway, listen, I want to just say thanks. I want to thank Layla Al-Husseini. I want to thank WNZK AM 690 for allowing Arab Americans to have a voice. You don't have to agree with that voice, but it is a voice, and it's so important that it be engaged in the debate in this country, and it often is not. Even in Michigan, where you have such a huge population, you're taken for granted. The rest of the country is trying to write you off. They won't even write about the AbandonBiden movement, which is an Arab Muslim movement to protest Biden's policies that have allowed these massacres and this Holocaust in Gaza. They're ignoring them. They're ignoring you. And the only way to make that change is not to be ignored. And that means to learn communications, put your voice on paper in press releases, reach out to the media, protest to the media, reach out to people like me, send me your stuff, and we can help each other. I'm Ray Hanania. Remember, go to Hanania.com, Hanania, Hanania.com to get a hold of me, to read my columns. I hope you have a great month. I will see you in the second week in August here at Radio Baladi. I just want to thank you for listening. And remember, this is posted on Facebook, so if you missed any part of it, you can go back and learn a lot about American politics. I'm Ray Hanania. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
WNZK has available a